Indeed, Sakina, people are already starting to survive. The day started off with the municipal officials cleaning this Wattville cemetery as it had not been cleaned for a while now, which speaks to poor, bad service delivery when it comes to municipal services across the country. As you can see on my left-hand side, you can see the leadership of the ANC in the province through its provincial chairperson, Panyaza Lisufi, and TK Ngiza, the provincial secretary, and also Pemjwe, the ANC NEC member. They have all arrived. You have also seen some of the Tambo family members as well who have arrived and waiting for the arrival of the president of the ANC, Cyril Ramaphosa. But I am with Njabulo Nzuza, who is the ANC NEC member, who will speak on the importance of this commemoration 30 years since your longest service president, Oliver Tambo, departed the land of the living. If Tambo were to see the ANC today, the famous quote says, he handed over the ANC bigger, better to the membership. Is it still the same today?
Well, we are inspired by the words of Oliver Tambo. Today marks the 30th commemoration, and we always make sure that on such dates we do not just come to commemorate, but we look back and say, what is it that Tambo will have done under these conditions that we are living in today? Yes, there might be issues with the movement, but the movement is continuing to gain strength. It's gaining momentum. We'll continue to do our best to make sure that we emulate OR Tambo, to make sure that we continue to build a strong organization. We have been here since the morning to make sure that all is in order, and indeed we are confident that all is in order and we are ready to receive the president.
With receiving the president, the ANC president of the country generally hates it when cemeteries, wherever he's going, roads are maintained, cleaned on the day that is coming, which speaks to bad service delivery. Grass here was not cut. What does that say about the services being provided to the people when it comes to municipal services?
Well, we have been saying that the situation here in Ekurhuleni has deteriorated over time with the changes in leadership and everything that had been going on. This is an example of such a situation. We had actually requested that services be provided here early. We had to come in ourselves as an organization to make sure that we clean up. It is the responsibility of the local municipality, and we know that the concerns we've been raising about the municipality delivering services, this should not have been the situation. It's supposed to be maintained consistently, not because that we are coming here as the ANC.
When it comes to current contemporary politics, Oliver Tambo was never embroiled in any scandals of corruption. He was relatively seen as a paragon of leadership when it comes to the governing party. When you look at governing party leaders today, all sorts of allegations against them, a far cry from the leadership that the ANC had in yesteryear.
Yes, we have been setting up integrity structures to make sure that people who lead the ANC lead with integrity. It is no longer something that we can just say we are leaving it to members, but we are institutionalizing integrity to make sure that we have institutions like the Integrity Commission. We have vetting in terms of leadership, as you will have seen, going up to our national conference, the steps that were taken. So all of those were institutionalizing things that Oliver Tambo believed in.
Mr. Nzuza, on topical issues in the country, load shedding, the Minister of Electricity and also ANC NEC member Dr. Ramaphosa presented a plan to the NEC. Did the NEC adopt this plan? Where did the ANC have issues with the issue of the minister resolving the energy crisis, and particularly knowing that there's allegations of a territorial war in cabinet?
Well, I don't know anything about territorial wars. All I can say is that, yes, we support the Minister of Electricity and the plans that are being put in place to make sure that we end load shedding. Obviously, it's going to be progressive, slowly introducing new megawatts into the grid, and that is part of the plan, using certain energy mix, so that we have confidence in that it will be implemented, and soon we will be seeing a decline in load shedding.
Thank you very much, Mr. Njabulo Nzuza. That is Mr. Njabulo Nzuza, who's the ANC NEC member. I am just going to try and move across and bring in Mr. Jongzizwe Nhlabati, who is the acting chairperson of the ANC in the region and also the chief whip in the legislature. Mr. Nhlabati, grass is only cut this morning. People here in Wattville are living in areas where their cemeteries are not cut. Vegetation is not done. Service delivery in your municipality, what's going on?
This is part of the reason why we said we must collaborate with the like-minded political parties in council. This is quite unfortunate, but to us it is a reflection that when you don't have an ANC leading or an ANC being at the helm of service delivery, These are the typical things that you are experiencing. Unfortunate as it might be, we remain committed within this collaborative governance to turn the tide and make sure that there is sustainable provision of service delivery, including making sure that on a consistent basis we cut grass and we maintain our public facilities.
The ANC has resolved that when the ANC is in majority, it must lead the coalition, effectively meaning you must take the mayorship in these municipalities. Here in Gauteng, and specifically here in Ekurhuleni, you've come up with your own smallanyana arrangement when it comes to councils and given the AIC the mayorship. Are you going to reverse this with the ANC now resolving?
Well, unfortunately, I can't comment much on it. Safe to say that we must wait for the National Executive Committee to issue its final statement and to provide a direction on what needs to happen. Safe to say that it makes logical sense for a party that has the majority to lead, irrespective of the fact that it did not have the absolute majority. But you can't justify a party that has, for instance, in Ekurhuleni 86 seats, not leading the municipality.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chongizizwe Nhlabati. It will be interesting to see how the ANC deals with this specific matter, with the NEC already resolving on this issue. In fact, I'm going to ask the man who was leading these negotiations in Gauteng. Mr. Ngiza, the NEC, I'm fine. And yourself?
I'm very well. Morning to your viewers.
It seems as if the NEC says you must now take the lead in these coalitions that you've negotiated because you are the majority. Are you going to go back and tell your coalition partners that, look, guys, our leadership says we must lead because we are the majority?
Actually, that's what the ANC is not necessarily saying. That it's saying we must respect, work with them, because we in some of these municipalities are in a majority. We should look into that. However, the reality is that we are not an organization which is arrogant. We'll continue to work with our coalition partners, and we will work for now up until, of course, this thing is legislated and we all have a mutual understanding with other coalition partners.
Thank you very much,
I know
Mr.
the president is here. You must look at the president.
You are running away. Yes, the president of the ANC, Cyril Ramaphosa, arriving here at Wattville to lay a wreath here at the Wattville Cemetery at the commemoration site of the former president of the African National Congress, the longest serving president of the ANC, Oliver Tambo. We will also at some point try and doorstop the president of the ANC, specifically knowing that they cut the grass here this morning, and he always says that he hates it when service delivery is done on the day that he will be going to an event, which speaks to how the people are not being respected by those whom are deployed in government. It happened in Kroonstad when he went to the gravesite of Z.R. Mahabane, the former president of the ANC. We will at some point try and sneak in to where he is moving. I'm actually going to try now. Mr. President. That is the president of the ANC. Payaza Lucifer is saying we must stop, but we will ask him that his leadership here in the province is cleaning grave sites on the day that he arrives, which is something he hates. Mr. President, they decided to clean this morning, yet you say they must never do that, Mr. President.
Let me greet the family.
He's saying he's going to greet the family first as he's trying to avoid the questions, but we will pose those questions to him as the day moves on, because it speaks to how residents are not being respected by those in office, and service delivery is only done when the politicians and those in government come to those specific events, especially when you look at the history and the heritage that Oliver Tambo left in the African National Congress, leading the party for the longest of time over the most difficult periods, which speaks to how he is revered within the African National Congress. But when you look at ANC leaders of today, all sorts of scandals come out about leaders, years of alleged state capture, corruption, those whom have been incarcerated. You look at the likes of John Block, who've gone to prison because of corruption allegations, and how the president of the ANC at some point pinned a letter and said the ANC stands as accused number one when it comes to issues of corruption, specifically in the country, which is something that former President Zuma came back to rebut, and saying that the ANC does not stand as accused number one when it comes to issues of corruption. Sakina. Essentially, the ANC president was also meant to deliver an Oliver Tambo lecture later today. He has since pulled out of that specific lecture and decided to hand it over to the national chairperson of the ANC, Gwede Mantashe, as there is an incoming state visit to the country, which he effectively has to prepare for tomorrow, which he will then officiate over that specific state visit. I think he is now moving over to go and greet some of those ANC volunteers whom are also here, as they've been discussing over the past few days matters related to energy, matters related to coalition governments. Today they are dealing with the international balance of forces, with the incoming BRICS summit set to take place in the country later on this year in August, with those matters pertaining to the International Criminal Court's warrant of arrest for Russian President Vladimir Putin, with the South African government also seeking legal advice on this specific matter in order for the Russian president to come to the country. Just this week in Cape Town, those deputy ministers of foreign affairs in these BRICS nations will be meeting in the city of Cape Town to plan for the upcoming BRICS summit in August, with the Russian Federation also accepting that their deputy minister will be in the country in Cape Town deliberating on these matters and planning for the upcoming BRICS summit. You remember that Hage Geingob, the president of SWAPO and also Namibian president, spoke at the state visit and saying that why is it that South Africa always finds itself in a conundrum that it has to arrest sitting presidents of foreign nations. You remember the Omar al-Bashir situation in the country. Hage Geingob asking that will you this time around arrest Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, when he comes to the country, and asking why is South Africa and the ANC government still part of the Rome Statute as a signatory of the International Criminal Court. Sakina.